We get lots of letters and emails and text messages and direct messages here. Hell, I think this channel lives on those messages. Not just the people who are sending me story ideas day after day, on which this channel could not exist if I did not receive them from you guys, but also from the very generous people who sometimes send something to my house or drop a few ducats in the old PayPal account that helps keep this channel afloat, in between other things like books and YouTube kicking me off. But a few months ago, now let me restart that. I basically don't read letters if they have obscenities or vulgarities or all these weird racial things in them. So, if somebody's reading me, somebody's sending me something and they drop an F-bomb, boom, I just stop reading. They drop an N-bomb, boom, I just stop reading. They drop a J-bomb, boom, I just stop reading. I just stop reading. I'm not interested in talking to anybody on any level that I couldn't have over my house for dinner with my family saying what they said in that letter. Every once in a while, I remind people of that. We get a kind of a sheaf of people coming in going, oh yeah, I understand, Colin. We got to keep the secret. We got to keep the secret that, you really believe all these things in secret. Except, we got to keep your cover or, you'll lose your channel or whatever stupid thing. No, I think people who write these things are stupid and ignorant, and I don't want anything to do with them, period. But even so, by that standard, I got a letter a few months ago. It started off kind of like, hey, Colin, I really like everything you're doing, man. You're my hero. You're saving the white race. Now, 99 times out of 100, I would stop reading right there and go, this guy's a complete idiot. But I had heard something in the news about this guy that made me think I had run across this guy. Turns out I was right. He writes these letters he goes into the deep, dark corners of the internet, and he writes letters to people, kind of suckering them into saying ignorant things. And then he writes articles saying, oh yeah, this is proof positive that all white people are evil because that dude living in his mom's basement down there in Columbus, Ohio on 17th Street, he dropped an N-bomb on me. After, this guy wrote him a letter kind of inviting him to do so. And so this guy did one of these letters and he goes, man, brother, when are we going to get together and, do this, do that, so we can save this and save that? And, it's like, what an idiot, but I kind of thought that's who it was. Anyway, I got an email this morning or text, a message, I think it was on Minds or Facebook, wherever. And it was from this guy. He claimed to be that guy anyway. And he goes, yeah, Colin, I just reviewed 2 of your books. And he didn't really review the books. All he did was said, I'm a bad person. All I do is report stuff about how black people are bad and how he could do the same thing to white people if he just had time or inclination. But he really does not want to do that because he's always so busy exposing white racism and other ways. He doesn't really have time to document for us real examples of real dangerous white racism, and it put kind of like the same thing we do here with this enormous amount of black on white hostility. And so my only answer to people that come at us like that, kind of weaving fairy tales about how we're weaving fairy tales, my only answer is, okay, we'll just go at it right here in the middle of Main Street, wherever you are. Here's who I am. I'm very plain. We tell the truth. Nobody's hiding anything. Nobody's speaking in code words. We're saying that black criminality and violence is wildly out of proportion. And here are some recent examples.
No person should want to harm another person. Only a monster would.
Sometimes the worst monsters are real. A man with a lengthy criminal history is accused of breaking into a Euclid woman's home before robbing, raping, and beating her.
Now the woman's family says their loved one will never be the same. And News 5's Jordan Vandenberg is live in Euclid. Jordan, tell us that woman's condition.
Well, the victim actually underwent facial reconstruction surgery earlier today, and she needs perhaps as many as 8 more surgeries to get everything back to normal. The family says the victim has a long road to recovery. Brutal, depraved, vicious, and savage. All of these words could be used to describe what Archie Leak is accused of doing. You don't have to take it from us.
Yeah, my worst fear came true.
Take it from her.
Somebody broke into her house through her kitchen window, which was locked. He used a crowbar to get in, and he brutally beat and raped my mother repeatedly and left her for dead.
She's the victim's daughter and didn't want her face shown to protect her mother's identity and privacy. Her mother lay in a Cleveland Clinic operating room as doctors worked to repair the damage that Leak reportedly left behind.
You can't even open a can of pop around my mom now. She thinks, it's a gunshot. You can't touch my mom's arm. My mom is not the same.
Under the cloak of night, Leak allegedly entered the victim's apartment on Good Friday. Over the next 5 hours, police believe he mercilessly and repeatedly raped and beat the woman. Easter plans were set aside as Euclid detectives relentlessly pursued and arrested the woman's alleged attacker. The victim's daughter says her mother only recalled seeing Leak once in passing.
DNA. They identified him through DNA. He already has a very lengthy criminal record dating back to 1989. And we were worried about that because it was a holiday. And they were like, no, with this case, we're going through. So I'm so thankful that Euclid was able to get him.
The victim will have to learn to walk again, and she could very well lose her eyesight, the ability to see her grandchildren again. Medical bills are already mounting, but it's the emotional cost that could be insurmountable.
For this to happen to somebody like her, it makes you think like there's no good people anymore. It doesn't matter if you're a good person because bad things, horrible things will happen to you.
I said, I love you, and she said, I love you too, Nan.
The last words Nancy Gale would hear over the phone from her mother, Helen. The 81-year-old from Southfield would be found dead in the back seat of her burning car in Highland Park the next day, November 26, 2011.
The interior of the vehicle was on fire. That was where the fire was contained to. The horn was going off in the vehicle, and we began to extinguish the fire at that point. So once the fire was extinguished, we discovered the body.
Further investigation revealed it was the body of Helen Gale, doused in gasoline and set on fire. So badly burned, she was identified through dental records. There were signs of a struggle at her Southfield home. Items were missing, including her ID, wallet, and purse like this. A gift from her daughter, Nancy, a high-end handbag designer whose clients include the rich and famous.
It was a yellow, box-shaped purse.
And that was a gift you
It was a gift I had made for her.
Specially made for your mother?
Yes, it was. It was called the Helen.
But it was this blue bag with a piece of paper attached that investigators say they found in the alley with Helen's burning car. The suspect's attorney challenging investigators to tie that bag to the crime.
No, at the time I collected it, I collected it as part of a fire scene examination.
But investigators say now they can tie it all together. Helen's then neighbor, Darren Keener, had been arrested back then, a suspect in her death for years. But not enough evidence, no charges in the case until now. Nancy Gale tells us she spent years waiting for closure, waiting for justice for her mother. She finally hired private investigator Scott Lewis, who you know is a former Fox 2 investigative reporter. Once he started asking some questions, they say it seems police once again got serious about the case. Cold case investigators with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department began working on the case in 2017. In May, the U.S. Marshals Service arrested Keener at his home in Toledo. A woman who knew Keener from his stint at a rehab facility for crack cocaine addiction, testifying Keener called her 16 times the night Helen Gale went missing from her home. They spoke for almost an hour. Then he left her a voicemail.
He said, I did something bad, something real bad. My stomach just kind of flopped, and I went, oh my gosh, what's going on?
It's all testimony that's left Helen's daughter, Nancy, hoping there will finally be justice for her mother.
It's been so long, and you find ways to sort of compartmentalize. So it's just surreal is the only word, because, we're still hopeful that this goes the way we want it to go.
They say they've identified persons of interest, and they are still speaking with possible witnesses to a deadly shooting. Edgar Union Jr. was gunned down yesterday near 47th and Stockwell in the College View area. Union was 22 years old, and he had 5 daughters. Lincoln's police chief says it's unclear exactly what led up to the shooting, but there was a large gathering of people in the area before the shooting. And several of Union's friends were involved in a disturbance or assault earlier in the day at Lincoln's Southeast High School.
Boy, it was just yesterday we did a story out of Omaha. So this is Lincoln. We did a story out of Omaha. Of course, they put the obligatory microphone in front of the obligatory person from the hood. Oh, yeah, that's another guy. That guy who wrote that letter sent me at the book review said, he goes, oh, I'm from the hood, Colin. So basically, you know, in his world of identity politics, if you identify yourself as a black person from the hood, that means you cannot be challenged by any reason for anything whatsoever. Anyway, so yesterday, that's the guy who was pulling that card in Omaha to discuss this large episode of black mob violence and gunplay in Omaha, Nebraska. Today we had the same thing. Bunch of fellas, we just saw that story. This is one of the accessories. A bunch of fellas got into it with a 22-year-old guy who had 5 children. Hey, good for you, dude. This letter came from Toronto. We don't normally do that much stuff from Toronto. We could do a story like this every day. Here's a story about I can't tell if it's a fella or one of the lovely ladies. I guess it's a fella. Anyway, he killed or stabbed this cancer researcher just an hour or two after killing some gay couple, at least one member of a gay couple who runs a theater in Toronto. And people in Toronto, there's a lot of people up there have been scratching their head for years now going, hey, wait a minute. Why are all these black people committing all this violence in Toronto? We never had slavery up here. We've always been nice to them up here. We've always invited them into our country and into our city. What's up with all this crime in Toronto? Didn't Toronto used to be a nice place? A world-class city? It's funny that there's always a lag, right? When you're like a world-class operation or a world-class city, there's always a lag between that and when it changes into something else. It takes like 10 or 15 years for people to figure it out. But in the meantime, the 10 or 15 years, people are just constantly bragging on their city or their organization, despite all the evidence to the contrary that something's changing in a way that represents something far worse than what they've been bragging about. Toronto is a perfect example of that. So now we got a guy from the hood, reviewing, he says, my books. Okay, fine, good for you. Review this. Give me some examples of white people killing old black people, just like this. Give me some examples of white people raping and killing and burning old black people. Give me examples from Cleveland. Give me examples just like you saw here. You can't do it because they don't exist. And reporters and public officials in this country and in Toronto now are desperate to pretend somehow it does exist, that white people are doing it too. That's part of the greatest lie of our generation. That's why we're doing these videos. That's why I'm so grateful for all the support you guys give me on PayPal and in the mail. My mail and PayPal address are easy to find on myminds.com/Colin Flaherty page. So let's stay together on this. Let's keep exposing this ridiculous level of crime, violence, denial, deceit, and delusion. We're saving lives. I hear this every day. But it's weird how saving lives also makes the black kids angry.